Hello guys, hello everyone. So today I'm actually hosting a little guest. So I'm going to play two training games with one of my students. So our idea here is to train some openings that we've recently talked about and recently discussed, and give it some practice, as sometimes it just happens that you try to study some opening but you don't get too much options to practice it immediately. It might take some time until you face it. So as white, we have basically decided to play the Benko Gambit when I play the white pieces, and he would play this is an opening we try to learn, and when I will play as black, he would try to play the Trompovsky, which is another opening we're trying to discuss. So I'm not actually a typical 1d4 player, but I would try to go for the most, let's say, for the kind of most principled choices here, and kind of test his ability to maintain the initiative and the activity, which is with this gambit, the Benko gambit, which is an opening where you get when you sacrifice material on the very early stage of the game, is super important to kind of keep on playing very actively and not thinking too much about any materialistic considerations. So he now takes on a6. This means that whenever I play the move e4, I would lose the right to castle, which is not that bad. I will try to go with a system which involves fianchettoing your bishop. Once again, I'm not an expert in the subtleties here, but to my knowledge, this is one of the kind of main options that white has in their disposal. Yeah, 97. So now, yeah, so this is also a little bit subtle, because perhaps before castling, black tries to immediately put some pressure against my center. So let me try to play this move, rook to b1. This is a move that, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of universally useful for white, because it gets the rook out of the long diagonal, and sometimes preparing to play a move like b3 followed by bishop to b2. Yeah, so now this pawn is under some pressure. In the next move, we might also consider playing a move like bishop to b7 to increase the pressure even more. So castling is kind of the obvious move. Okay, let's once again, I'm not a big expert on the different subtleties here, so I feel like he's actually probably the one who has some more knowledge about these positions. So as white here, usually what white is trying to achieve is basically to slowly try to consolidate his position and try in the long run to keep his extra pawn without giving black too much activity. And basically black needs to do the complete opposite, so basically constantly create pressure on the white's position, usually mainly by using the long diagonal of the bishop and the two open files that he possesses by these two rooks. So bishop c4 is a very interesting move. I'm actually wondering if I was supposed to play b3 on the previous move. This is actually my lack of theoretical knowledge in this Benko line. So basically it's a double attack. I'm wondering which pawn should I kind of give away, because it seems like inevitably I have to give one of them. I will gain maybe the advantage of two bishops, so maybe that's like a small comfort for me. Let's play knight d2. So if he takes this pawn or this pawn, yeah, I think I can now grab the advantage of two bishops. I will just briefly check whether I can play rook a1. I don't exactly see why this should be any good, so I'll go for the more obvious knight takes bishop. Yeah, now basically it seems to me like black should probably do quite okay here. He regained his pawn, gave up his bishops. Should be a fair trade. I can maybe grab this tempo by this kind of move. But my pawn on b2 seems kind of weak, so I'm wondering if I should just play a move like b4. I think b4 is a good move because now that I possess the advantage of the two bishops, I think I should aim to open up the position as much as I can. And if black decides to grab my pawn on d5, I should have some tactics involving a move like queen to b3. Once again, this is it's a fast time control game, so I'm really kind of counting on my intuition here. Hopefully I won't embarrass myself. If black decides to play a move like c4, I also might consider taking on c4, knight takes on c4, and then queen to b3 with a double attack against the knight and the rook on a2. Yeah, so he did play c4. Am I missing something? So I don't really see at the moment why this move does not work. And if it does, I should be very happy about, because it will kind of get my position slightly liberated, because until that point I was very much cramped in my position. After the game I should probably check all the different nuances here with the all different tactics that we had here. I'm not actually gaining any material from the transition, because if black wants, he can now take a pawn on e2, but I feel like exchanging some pieces, it should be in my favor, especially with the fact that I now possess this passed pawn on the b file, which means that I should be aiming to exchange as many pieces as possible, because in the end game this kind of pawn can prove to be extremely strong. Yeah, so black made a noble decision actually not to take on e2 and play for activity, which I kind of it's an interesting decision, I must say. So once again, I'm basically seeking to simplify, so a move like queen c6 makes sense, but I'm very short on time once again, so I think I will start to play slightly more practically. Let's first of all finish my development. So my idea is maybe to exchange rooks with rook to a1. For example, right now, if it's white to move, I think rook a1 is a fairly desirable exchange for me. Black might have this tempo gained by a move like rook to c8, but maybe this is not such a big deal for me, because I can just retreat to b3 and maintain control over all of the important squares in this position. So he plays rook to b8, so I think rook a1, yeah, I think I will play this. Once again, a very desirable exchange of pieces. My pawn on b4 is under attack, so at this point I feel like I must defend it. Super low on time though. So this move is slightly awkward, but if I would play bishop to c3, I would expose my bishop to some attacks by his rook. So these ones I have to exchange. Probably we missed some intermediate move there, but it's a fast time control, probably a forgivable thing. to miss in a fast time control game. So I'm now below 10 seconds, but hopefully I can pull it through. I think f6 was a very bad move, by the way. It's extremely weakening his king position. Now this pawn on e7 in the long run becomes even weaker than he was until now. And I think black is about to lose a lot of material. I thought the only chance for him is to block with the knight and try to play an endgame with the pawn down. Probably f6 is a losing move, or at least a move which gives white a very big advantage. We are about to find out. One of the things that we are actually working about quite frequently is actually this this phenomena of kind of committing very big or at least very serious mistakes in very critical parts of the game. So it's good that we play this game just to we can see another illustration of such a thing happening. Hopefully over time this could be improved. Yeah, I'm super duper low on time. I just played my move probably with a second on the clock. So yeah, I should just in this kind of positions I think I should just try to make some quick moves in order to use the increment to gain some time. And usually when you're in time control, you should, the way I see it, you should not make very committal moves. For example, moves which change the position in a very dramatic way, like a very big exchange or a very big change in pawn structure and etc. So I'm going to at least try until to play very safe moves, at least until I would have like maybe 10 or 15 seconds on the clock. My next move is probably going to be f4. I think at some point I have to fight against this knight on e5. He's just too strong. So I do have an extra pawn, but converting this position is not so easy because black's position is fairly solid. I want to play the move g4 now because I don't want to allow this knight to get back into the game. So I think at this point, in order for the knight to get back into the game, he needs to spend quite a few moves. I think the move knight g4 was wrong. I think he should have gone I think he should have gone knight d7 and trying to blockade this pawn. Now actually my pawn reached a very advanced square on b6, and I think together with the support of my queen and bishop, he should be able to eventually create very big troubles for black. Yeah, let's play maybe some small useful moves. I will slightly improve the position of my king. I feel like I should not rush here because I have a good position and I should try to improve it as much as I can. Yeah, so black is losing on time. Probably a very super critical mistake in this game was the move f6 at this point. I believe that if black would play knight f6 here, for example, just keeping his king position solid, white would have a pawn up, but it would be still a very long way till victory. I think after f6, the position after rook a7 is probably close to losing. I probably did not play the best in the last couple of moves because I had very little time, but probably good enough for victory. So, good game there, hard fought, and now we continue to the second game.